Hi, welcome to my channel. First episode. I'm so glad you decided to join me. And so if you like what you hear today, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please turn your alerts on so you never miss out on the next video. So today I'm here to talk about something I feel really passionate about. Let's get into it.
2020.
Undoubtedly has been about self-care, the importance of it, the mechanics of it, how to get that great skin, how to make sure you're exercising and doing all the yoga poses right, how are you keeping your heart healthy. So all of these things are great and definitely important and all about self-care. The key component that seems to be completely missed in this entire discussion is in order to actually have the resources for self-care, right, in order to be able to afford those fancy skincare items or have a great balanced diet or be in a place of security where you can actually have lower stress caring for yourself because nobody else will, is really to have one important thing, and that is to make sure you have financial self-care, right? You have financial integrity to keep you going. You can afford the things that everyone is saying you need. You need matcha, you need downward dog, you need to take 5 vacations a year. You don't need any of those things. But what you need is to be in a place to make choices. The way you make choices is having financial security to do so. And for that, you need to incorporate some financial self-care into your day. And how do you do that? So financial self-care is key, but it's a pretty broad topic. One huge part of that is your credit score. How to have a high credit score, because that's the way you signal to the world that you're good for the debts that you take, right? You're not flight risk when it comes to will she pay back her loan, or is she worth giving a job to because it tells you about her character. Because a lot of people looking for a job go through a credit check. People trying to buy a home get a credit check for a mortgage rate. People trying to start a business get a credit check for a loan to start one and to get your business off the ground. So everyone really needs to do this. And it can be pretty confusing. I struggled with trying to get through all of the resources because some of it's quite academic. A lot of the resources are on these websites that are helping you in personal finance. Then they miss quite a few of the traits that I'm about to share with you. Big part of your credit score is your credit card history. Are you paying? How are you paying? How often are you paying? All those sort of attributes add up and cost you a significant portion of your credit score. How do you develop healthy credit card habits? I put together everything that I could think of, that I've gone through, that my friends and family have gone through, and what I could find online. And I have distilled it down for you guys. So if you're interested in trying to develop healthy credit card habits because you actually have a bad credit score and you're trying to repair it, or if you have no credit because you are relatively young and you have never really had the time to actually have a credit card and the occasion to use it, this video is for you. The very first tip that I have is more of a what not to do piece of advice, and that is to confuse your credit card with a bank. You should not be using your credit card to take cash out against it. This is known as taking a cash advance. So if you didn't know this, good for you, because that means you're not doing this, and that is what we want. But for everybody else, cash advances are when you go to a bank, you go to the ATM, you put your credit card in, actually take cash out against it. And why do that? You get cash up front, right? And you need it for something. If there's an extenuating circumstance, okay. But if it's not, trust me, you will be way better off avoiding this at all costs. When you take out a cash advance, you pay a cash advance fee, and then on top of that, you pay a double-digit interest rate. It hits you the day you take the money out. There is no grace period, there's no forgiveness hour. You start incurring that really fast. So not only do you have to worry about paying that money back as soon as you can, but you also have to deal with the interest rate that you have stacked up alongside it. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to actually get out of that mess, because that interest rate can bury you, right? And then you have the problem of people trying to pay off old debts by taking out new debts, and then it's just a trap. You can never get yourself out of it. So you will do yourself a kindness by never doing this in the first place. The other thing is, if you do take out a cash advance, right, like I mentioned, you get that interest rate, that timer starts ticking. But let's say you needed that cash to buy something. If you actually put that purchase on your credit card like a regular transaction, you have until the next payment cycle to actually make due on that payment without any interest. So chances are you're probably better off at just using that credit card as it's meant to be used, which would be to charge for a future payment. So save yourself no cash advances. The second tip I have for you today is to set a auto payment of the minimum payment due. Generally, you can do this either on the actual credit card website or the app, or you can deduct it from wherever you're paying out the bill, which would be your actual bank account. Either way, it's just to set that automatic payment for the minimum, so something you don't have to worry about. In case you're busy or something comes up, or you're sick or on vacation, or you're otherwise tied up, you don't have to worry whether your credit card bill is being paid. At least it's being paid at minimum, just in case something comes up. That way, you can do this without worrying, and there's no intervention. Once you set that up, it just will keep happening. Now, one would argue, shouldn't you pay that credit card in full? And yes, and will you? You will. So the third piece of advice that I give you is when you set up that minimum payment due, set an alert for yourself up to 5 business days before the bill date, just to scan your charges. When you do that, you start to become more conscious about where your money is actually going, right? So you've got all these brilliant websites like Mint or personalcapital.com, and they help you look at how you've spent your money. Where has it gone? How many matcha lattes have you spent? How many avocado toast? You get to see where you've poured your hard-earned money into, and that allows you to rebudget and figure out how to grow it, invest it into markets, so on and so forth. But that's sort of after the fact. That's great, and I definitely recommend you do that. But what if you had the chance to actually also kind of see it in real time, or as closest to real time as you can get, which is like, oh, what did I spend my money on that day? Or what was that $7 bagel that I got? Was it worth it? And when you start to keep that at top of mind, you become more conscious of it as you pull out that credit card for the next purchase that you make. You're less likely to just spill that cash when you feel like, oof, I kind of have already been spending too much this month because I just looked at my charges. Second point, and even more important point of why you would set this alert about 5 business days before your bill is actually due, is to make sure all the charges are actually you. You're the one who spent that money, you put the credit card out, or you entered your information online, and you actually bought the good or service that you're being charged for. If you didn't, and somebody else did, and it's a fraudulent charge, you now can alert your credit card company, and they can then launch an investigation to give you your money back, figure out what went wrong, and if you need a new credit card, they can send that to you right away. And so just being on top of that lets you plan your life a little bit better, and kind of just never running your life without a credit card, right? You can just kind of resume as normal. If there's a mistake, they can clarify it. Like, for example, when you're ordering online and you put your credit card information in and you hit like, let's go, I want this, you place your order and it's still spinning, and then you hit it again and you get charged twice. Like, don't hit it again, they tell you, but you did, and you're done, and you get 2 charges. So now you can have the credit card company actually sort that out with the vendor and say, hey, I only got the 1 item, but you charged me twice. And that can be sorted before your credit card bill is due. So then you don't have to pay it twice because you're worried if you don't pay it, then it'll look like you're not paying your credit card bill. All this nonsense can be completely avoided because you've already sorted that out and had enough time for the credit card company to make the adjustment, and then you can pay your bill when it's actually due. The third point that I have is your credit limit usage. And the way credit cards look at your behavior and the way they measure it is by seeing what percentage of that are you using, right? Are you using 99% of how much credit limit they've given you and then paying it all or paying it half, or, how much of that are you actually putting up there, and how long does it sit there? The rule of thumb is 10% or below of your credit limit usage is ideal. So if you've got a $600 credit limit, you want to make sure that your outstanding balance never really exceeds $60. That can be really hard if you've got someone with bad credit, so your credit limit is low or too low for you, or someone with almost no credit because you're a relatively new credit card user, and so they start you out pretty low at the beginning. But your life is a lot grander than your credit card limit. What to do? So the way out of this is to actually make multiple credit card payments for the same month. So my advice is to make 2 payments every month. The one that you do 5 business days before, where you do the check, you can pay whatever the balance is in full at that moment, and the one maybe a week or 2 before. Now, if you are someone who gets paid every other week, you can align it as such. So you pay off your bill right after you receive the money of your paycheck or that day right away. So just as often and as frequent. If you are paid daily, then you can be a bit more flexible about this, but make sure that you do this twice. As long as you're monitoring your credit card limit usage, never really teeters above 10%, then you're good. The next point that I have is if you do all of these things and you show that you're really, really good, generally what happens without you trying, let's say about every year, when people are expected to have a modest bump in their income because they're salaried and their corporate gives them a little bit of like standard bump, or they're wage earners and they have more skills as time goes on and you get paid more as time goes on. The expectation from credit card companies is that you're going to need to spend more as you make more. If you're spending more and you're making more and you need that credit limit capacity, credit card company will say, okay, based on past behavior, it looks like she makes good on her payments, she's on time, she pays in full, she doesn't incur any interest. Let's give her a credit limit increase. She's gonna need more when her expenses go up. But you can actually double time this. So why wait the full year? You can actually, after about 6 months, I recommend that you call up your credit card company and you ask them for a credit limit increase yourself and let them figure out whether or not you are deserving of one. The worst thing that can happen is that they say no. But if you have demonstrated 6 months of good behavior, of routinely paying, it is often the case that you'll get a yes. And when you do that, you'll start to slowly be able to increase your credit limit. So then when you maintain that 10% or less threshold of your outstanding balance, slowly over time, you won't need to make multiple payments every month to try to keep your balance below that. And you'll be able to just finally revert to just paying it off once a month once it gets comfortably into that zone where your credit limit is high enough that 10% of it is good to sustain your balance for more than a couple weeks at a time. So asking yourself, empowering yourself to get a higher credit limit is something I have done, and it has worked beautifully. And every single time I have been able to get the credit limit that I've asked for. So my credit limit usage is always well maintained, but that's due to the fact that I have actually had a higher credit limit increase a bit more rapidly than a lot of my peers. Next tip, less is more. You don't need more than one credit card. There's all this buzz and there's sort of obsession about the rewards games, right? Which one gives you the best cash back? Which one gets you the most airline miles? Which one gets you the most hotel points? How do you redeem them? What to do? How to arb this credit card points with that one and upgrade your thousands of points to get you a business class ticket? Those things are all great, but they're all very much a luxury and something all to hide behind the fact that you only get rewards after you've already spent the money, right? So those are secondary concerns at best. The very first concern that you should have is develop good credit. And the way you do that is by demonstrating that you can pay, you can stay within the limit that they provided you, and you can make do on your debts. And after you've done that and your credit score is at a situation or a state that you're happy with, so we're thinking no less than 700, 720, 750, with 800 being the goal, then you can be, okay, a little bit more picky about what kind of credit card you want. At the very beginning, if you have bad credit or if you have a very young credit history, not that many credit cards are actually available to you. So the good news is you're not going to be overflowed with choice. So start small, start with just one credit card, and really you don't need more than that. If you're struggling to maintain 10% or less of your credit limit, then you can consider making multiple payments to stay below it. And then if that still doesn't work, then you need to figure out, what are you spending your money on? Is it all need to be put on a credit card in any other fashion? You actually need a loan versus using your credit card for certain purchases. But a second card is not the solution. Last point that I have for you is to acknowledge that we are human beings and we are struggling and we're always trying to do better. And that is really the most important part. Developing good credit starts with wanting to do better. And that doesn't mean you can't make a mistake or that, you don't know you always have to be perfect. Absolutely not. Let's say you've been doing this, you've been paying your bills and all this, and for some reason, 1 month, you forgot to pay your credit card balance in full, or you forget to sign up the timer for the minimum payment due, and so for 1 month, you skip the date and were late. What do? Well, it's an honest mistake. What you should do is call up your credit card company company and explain to them the situation and have them remove that limit. That's it for me today. If you enjoyed this or you found this helpful, please like this video, subscribe, turn your alerts on, and leave a comment below what you like, what has helped you build credit history, what are your goals for 2021. Thanks a lot for watching.